Hey everybody, this is David, and today I'm going to be talking about our comparison operators in SQL and also our logical operators in SQL. And all of these operators are used for filtering data, so we can narrow down to just the rows that we want. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So we'll begin with our comparison operators. So this is the list of all of our operators. We have our equals operator, our not equals operator, and there's two ways to do our not equals. We can either have this kind of less than and greater than sign, or a exclamation equals, our lesser than operator, our greater than operator, and then our lesser than or equal to and our greater than or equal to operators. So let's just pop over to BigQuery, and we'll take a look at what some of these operators look like as an example. So we have a query here where we have our greater than or equal to operator, where our created date is at least January 1st, 2020. And you'll see that all the rows that we get back here have a created date at least that date. We could also do something like where our status is equal to open. And we can run that, and this will give us all the rows where our status is open, or we could even do where our status is not equal to open. So basically any row that doesn't fit that particular condition. So you can see here, that's what we get. All right, so our comparison operators are pretty simple and pretty self-explanatory. So let's move on now to our logical operators. And this is where things get a bit more interesting. Our four logical operators are like, in, between, and is null. And each of these has a different use case, and we'll go ahead and we'll take a look at when we would apply these and what they do. So our like operator is used with strings. And you can see here under usage, it says like, and then I have the word street in these single quotes, and I also have this % sign. And in SQL, this % sign is the wildcard character. And I think the best way to understand how this works is to take a look at an example. So I'm going to copy this, and we're going to come over to here, and we'll run our query. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say where our complaint description is like street, and then I have the % sign right after the word street. So what we get now is we get all the rows that begin with the word street, and then they can have any characters after that. We could put this wildcard character anywhere in our string here. We could even put it at the beginning as well, and then this will give us any rows that have anything written before the word street as well. So you can see SBO dash, and then we have the rest of our complaint description. So our like operator is used for string matching, and we usually see it used with this wildcard character. Okay, let's go on to our next logical operator, which is the in operator. And the in operator means give me all the rows where the row is in a set, where the value in the column is in a set. And this is how you define the set. You have parentheses, and then you have a list of values. And these are strings, and so they're in single quotes. If we had something like integers or floating point numbers, we wouldn't really need these single quotes, so we could just put them in a list with commas. But this is what it looks like to create a set of strings. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this, and we'll take a look at what the usage of this looks like. So if I go here, I would write where, and this would be source is in phone, comma, email. And I got to add source to my query up here. So let's go ahead and run that, and we'll see what our results look like. And so we're going to be getting back all of the rows where the source is in this set, where the source is either a phone or the source is an email. And so if we look through this, we get lots of phone rows. and it might be hard to find one, but I know there are also going to be email rows in here as well. So this statement, source, in, and then we give it a list, is very similar, or I should say it's equivalent to a statement that we saw in an earlier video where we have source equals phone or source equals email. Basically, any rows that fit any of the conditions included in our set are going to be included in our results. All right, let's go to our next statement, which is the between statement. And so the between statement is usually used with dates, and it's used for a date range. It can also be used with other numbers, like between 10 and 100, if our data happen to have a column with numbers in it. But we'll take a look at this example for between. So we'll say where our created date is between January 1st, 2020 and January 1st, 2021. And we'll go ahead and run that. And this will give us all of the rows where our created date is between these two dates. And something important to remember about the between statement is that it is inclusive. That means we're going to get rows that were created on January 1st, 2020 and rows that were created on January 1st, 2021. Okay, and then our final logical operator here is the is null operator. And so let's take a look. I'm going to delete some of these columns out of here, and I'm going to add another one. So I'm going to add the city column, and what we'll do here is I'm going to select all the rows where the value in the city column is null. And you'll see I get about 16,000 rows where the value in the city column is null. And now we know that all these rows actually come from Austin. The city value should be Austin because this is the Austin 311 service requests table. But for whatever reason, these rows have the city value as null. It's common in data if values are missing, we usually fill it in with the null value, which just means we don't have any value whatsoever for that particular row and that particular column, and it's kind of a special value. All right, great. So we've talked through all of our logical operators, but we're not quite done yet. These are all of our logical operators, but there are a couple other kind of special operators, and they count as logical operators, but they act in coordination with other operators, either our comparison operators or our logical operators. And these three are and, or, and not. And we saw some of these in an earlier video. We saw and or being used. And so we'll just do a quick review of how and or work. And basically returns all the rows where the condition on the left is true and the condition on the right is true. So in this example, we would get all the rows where the created date is greater than January 1st, 2020, and the status is closed. And if the status isn't closed or the created date is not greater than January 1st, 2020, we're not going to get the row. Both of these conditions have to be true in order to get the row in our results. For the or statement, this will return all the rows where the condition on the left is true or the condition on the right is true. It's okay if only one of the conditions is true, we'll still get that row in our result. And with this example, a complaint in this Austin 311 table can only come from one source. One complaint, one source. So this statement would give us, of course, all the rows where the source is phone or the source happens to be email. And an important note that we should always keep in mind when we're using and or is that and statements execute first. And so if you're mixing and or, you usually need to use parentheses to force an order of operations, to basically make SQL treat your or statements as a single unit in conjunction with and, so you don't get a result that's different than what you actually want. The last logical operator that we need to talk about today is the not statement. And not is very special because it is used in conjunction with any of our logical operators. And here are two really good examples of this. One is we would use the not statement to find any rows that are not null. So here's a great example where city is not null. So if I type that and run this query, I'm going to get back only the rows where city is filled in with a value. And so we can see here city equals Austin for every row. And we have, we had about 16,000 rows where city was null. And then we get about 1.6 million where city is not null. Another way that you could use the not keyword is to insert it before the like keyword. So you could say where source is not like phone, or we could say not in, and then give a set of values. All right, so today we talked about our comparison operators and our logical operators. Remember, these operators are all used to filter data, just to give us only the rows that we want. So, thanks for watching. Bye now.